Here we are then, workout Wednesday, back to the middle of the week, and this week go for another training tip. Now, I'm not one to be ultra critical, but there's something that's been happening in the gym for the last 18 months, 2 years, maybe even longer. Ladies coming into the weights room, empowered to do that, feeling like it's not the domain of the men anymore, just for them, then that's fantastic. But there's a couple of things that have come in alongside that, particularly because a lot of ladies focus on lower body training. That's absolutely fine. There's a lot to be learned from the high frequency that they might train the lower body. But calling this the hips do lie, because there's one added kind of element that ladies seem to do more often, and sometimes see guys doing it, particularly when I've taught classes like body pump, and the guys are usually in minority, and they probably look around at the ladies that are doing it as much as they look at the instructor to see how they should be doing the exercises. And what I'm talking about the hips is this thing where in a squat or a deadlift variation, you squat down, come up, and then forcing the hips forward, dropping it down, come up, forcing the hips forward. The only thing I can compare it to in life is, remember the days when we could go to nightclubs, maybe it's a few years ago for you, maybe not the classiest of places. Ladies, you'd get a guy coming up to you and he might be gyrating a bit. It didn't work for you then, and it's not working for you now. It's not helpful at all. Let's put some weight to it and talk about what's actually happening. So with the squat, squat down, come up, this push through. Understand it feels like you are engaging the glutes that little bit more. Up, push through. Actually, all that's happening is you're putting a lot of tension onto the hip flexors into a position they don't need to be in. It's not a helpful position for the hip flexors. Over time, you're actually going to stretch the hip flexors so much they don't do their job of stabilising the hips. Might feel like you're squeezing the glutes, but you can stand still, maybe in the checkout queue or whatever, and squeeze your glutes. Actually, to squeeze the glutes, you don't actually have to move the hips at all. We can engage the glutes. With the deadlift, same thing. Iranian or regular, going down, slamming it through. It's probably slightly more prevalent with a deadlift because the bars there feel like you can boom, push into it. There's nothing wrong with getting tension into the glutes, but what we actually want is a more continuous tension. You're actually taking the tension off some of the other target muscles that you really want to work really well. So, as we're in deadlift position, particularly for a Romanian deadlift, we drop in, come up, not quite straighten up. My glutes are still fully engaged. Drop down, come up. So I'm still slightly lean forward. My shoulders are still slightly further forward than my hips. In that position. Same with the squat. As I've got hold of the bar. Now, depending on your leg length, and most ladies have a longer upper leg length, the femur at the top half of the leg is longer, then actually you're going to get a good amount of glute work because they're going to go nicely back, stretched, and up. Back in again, without putting the hips through, increasing the tension and the stimulus on the glutes, as well as the quads when you're squatting. One solution for the deadlift is actually to use dumbbells. That'll be slightly harder to grip, but particularly for a Romanian deadlift, they're really nice because they go down the legs, you come up, don't push against the dumbbells. They might be resting on you, but don't push against them. And you're going to get that continuous tension into the glutes and the hamstrings. And that's what you want to be getting with most exercises. One more example. And I think this is slightly wider now. If you're doing a glute bridge or a hip thrust, the correct teaching point for it is to tuck the chin. That automatically then just engages the body in a slightly different way. So when we come up, all the tension's here, but my hips aren't actually even coming up in line with my knees and say the bottom of the abs here. But the maximum tension is then onto the glutes. It's the same principle with the squat and the deadlift. We're maximising tension. The last thing you want to do as a hip thrust variation gets heavy, whether it be on a glute drive machine, set up in a Smith machine, or a free bar version, is you're throwing your head back to try and get it up as high as you can. Keep that chin tucked, up to where you can get it up to. If that's not coming, that'll be maximising the tension, and if it's really hard to get up, probably just bring the weight back a little bit. Relearn that movement, improve the form with the chin tucked in nice and tight, and then progress the weight again when you can maintain that form.